All right, everybody, welcome back, Buckeye Banter. Today we're going to focus on the Indians, and we're going to look at what happened with our non-tenders and this upcoming Rule 5 draft. We're going to explain a little bit more about what Rule 5 draft is. We talked about it before in a previous episode. You can see that up here when we did our off-season primer, but right now we're going to explain that again, and we're going to get into it a little more detail, and we'll explain when that's going to happen and what's going to happen. So let's do this, Buckeye Banter. All right. So, Rule 5 draft. What does that mean? Um, let's talk about it. First, each Major League team has a chance to protect on their 40-man roster. The 40-man roster is the standard roster that all teams operate on throughout the season. They have a chance to protect their 40 players. So the Tribe made some moves. They had until a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, to protect anyone who they did not want to be exposed to what is called the Rule 5 draft. Who is eligible for the Rule 5 draft? Okay, the Rule 5 draft is basically a draft that takes place for players who have kind of been stuck in the minor leagues. It gives the players an opportunity to not be stuck behind someone in a franchise forever. So, what happens? If you signed by the age of 18 and have completed 5 pro seasons, that would be minor league baseball or Major League Baseball seasons, or if you signed by the age of 19 and have completed 4 pro seasons, you are eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Any player who is eligible for the Rule 5 draft and not protected on their club's Major League 40-man roster can be drafted by any other Major League team, as long as those teams have open slots on their 40-man roster. So the moves that Cleveland just made the other day, they actually non-tendered 3 players who were on their 40-man roster. We'll talk about that separately. So now Cleveland actually can draft players in this upcoming Rule 5 draft. So what does that mean? If you draft someone in the Rule 5 draft, you pay the team who that player did belong to $100,000. Very cheap in this world. You pay them $100,000, and basically you get the right to give them a trial, and they sign with your team. You have the rights to them as long as you keep them on your 40-man roster. You can't send them to the minors. They have to be in the majors. If you try to send them to the minors, then they will have to clear waivers and be returned to their original team, and that team would then pay you $50,000 to have them back. So it's a little complicated, but that's the basic gist of this Rule 5 draft. There's been some cases of players, actually Delino DeShields, who we just non-tendered. He was a Rule 5 draft player picked up. So he was actually drafted, I believe, by the Astros, and then the Rangers picked him up in the Rule 5 draft before they then traded him to us. There's been players who had great success, and there's been not so great success. Recently, the Indians lost Anthony Santander, who is now with the Orioles. Going to be their starting outfielder. We could really use to have him right now. But, we didn't protect him, and we thought no one would take him because he was coming off an injury. The Orioles, since they weren't really trying to compete, were able to keep him on the roster. It didn't really hurt them. Then after that first season, they were able to give him some time in the majors. It's been a couple years now since we lost him, and now he's going to be a key part of their team in their future. So that's the kind of thing that we could look to do maybe this year. So what's happening with our roster, and who might we pick up in the Rule 5 draft, and who might we lose in the Rule 5 draft? I think there's only one player who we might lose in the Rule 5 draft, in my estimation, and that is, by many accounts, one of our top outfield prospects, which seems weird, but he's also kind of been stuck, and he hasn't advanced, and that's Will Benson. So Will Benson has been stuck in Class A ball. This past year really, I think, hurt his development. And so they're counting on the fact that no one's going to take a risk on this guy who hasn't gotten out of Class A ball. But he's got big power, and you never know. So it's possible that he could get picked up. Again, if someone takes him, they'll have to keep him on their major league roster or send him back to us. So what do I think? What do I think we're going to do as far as possible pickups? Let's look at a few. There's obviously outfield, and let's not kid ourselves. We need outfield and we need infield. So who are the most likely players? Following a few of these things that are out there, I think one of the players that really intrigues me is right here in our own division, Akil Baddoo, I believe is how you say his name. So we'll keep an eye on that. This draft is going to happen on December 10th. So look for that on December 10th. And let's see if maybe they pick up Akil Baddoo. Akil Baddoo is an outfielder mostly known for his speed and defense. But since we just let Naquin and Delino DeShields go, it could be that he's in play. Now we can pick up more than one player if we want. Again, we have to keep them all on the roster. And we have to pay that $100,000. So it's possible that Akil Baddoo could be one option. Another option is a middle infielder from the Dodgers, Omar Estevez. Estevez has some experience. Both of these players are kind of right at the time when people expect them to be making it to the big leagues, but they're also young, which the Indians are looking for. So they're both 22. Both of them play good defense, which is also what Cleveland's usually looking for. None of these guys are going to be power outfielders. Moises Gomez is another guy from Tampa Bay, also 22. He's got a little more power for sure, and is more of a corner outfielder than a center fielder, which Baddoo is a little more of a center fielder. Another name that's popping up out there is shortstop from Cincinnati, Alfredo Rodriguez. Obviously, assuming we don't bring back Hernandez or Frankie gets traded, which I will get into that soon. I think Frankie will be traded. We're going to need some infielders, and I don't know that any of our guys are quite ready. So who else? There's a guy for the A's, an outfielder named Buddy Reed, who's a possibility. The Marlins have an outfielder maybe on the cusp of things named Thomas Jones. Another one who's intriguing to me is Jalen Ortiz from the Phillies, outfielder. And who else? I think those are the main guys that I think we should be kind of keeping our eye on, as far as who I've seen mentioned and who I think seem to make sense. There's some talk of a guy also named Brewer Hicklin. He is with the Royals. I'm not sure about Hicklin. He's a little older, but he is a corner outfielder. Not a lot of power, but yeah, I'm just not sure that he makes a lot of sense to me. But people have mentioned him in connection with us. But to me, that's not really what I see happening for us. I think that if it's an outfielder, it's probably Baddoo or Gomez. That's, to me, the ones that make the most sense. And then middle infielders, we've got maybe Rodriguez and um, Estevez. So look for those possibilities. Yeah. So moves that we just made. The Indians just non-tendered. So what does it mean that we non-tendered? We're going to talk about that as well. So we non-tendered Tyler Naquin, Delino DeShields, and Jeffrey Rodriguez. So at this point of the season, arbitration eligible players and players who are not under long-term contracts, but who are making league minimum, or basically their contracts get renewed. You agree that you want to tender them a contract, and if they are still pre-arbitration, then it's a fixed amount that they get that's set by the league, depending on what year they're in pre-arbitration. If they're in arbitration, then you either negotiate and agree to a price for their upcoming season, or you go to arbitration and you see what the arbitrator thinks they're worth. In arbitration, each team submits a number, and each side, the team and the player, submit a number, and the arbitrator decides either for one or the other, or somewhere in the middle. So in our preseason, off-season primer, I predicted that they would non-tender Delino DeShields and Tyler Naquin. This is not because I don't like either of them. I don't have much to say about Delino. I think he's just a serviceable at best outfielder. I like Tyler. I like him a lot. I like his hustle. I like his charisma. But he's getting older, and this year he was going to make upwards of $2 million, most likely. I just didn't see them in the midst of all that they're doing, paying him that money to basically just block the way for other guys who are younger, who they need to see what they can do, when we kind of know what Tyler is. And if he was just going to hang around and be a fourth outfielder for us, and we didn't have just a desperate need for some other people on that roster to fill better than what we have, maybe he would have stuck around. But right now, I just felt like it didn't make sense to me based on all that I knew, and I thought this is what they would do, and they did. Again, I don't think it's anyone thinking that Tyler didn't want to be here and play hard. He's always seemed to do that. But the reality of baseball is it's a lot of financial decision at the end of the day. So Tyler and Delino were going to be arbitration eligible, and both of them instead will be free agents. Jeffrey Rodriguez, he was not arbitration eligible, but basically I think they want to bring him back on a minor league deal because he's really been hindered by injuries. And so rather than pay him the guaranteed contract that they were going to have to up for him, they decided to non-tender him in the hopes of bringing him back on a minor league deal. Quickly, without getting into too much in the weeds with that, basically when you bring someone on a minor league deal, you don't guarantee them a major league contract. You agree to a minor league amount and then a potential major league amount if they make the major league team. So that's what they're hoping to do with Jeffrey Rodriguez. It's likely that he'll come back on that sort of deal. We'll see. So that gives you quick what's going on with the Tribe. We need to still get into, and we will soon, some of these trade possibilities. I do think that the likelihood is that, especially now that we've seen the non-tenders, now that we're going to see the upcoming Rule 5 draft, everyone's going to kind of know where they stand. And I think that's when you're going to start to see some of the chips fall in some of these trades. So we'll try and get into that soon. But as it stands, the Indians have 3 roster spots available. So obviously, barring a trade, they have room to bring in 3 players. And the truth is they need more than that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Some of these players are going to end up either getting waived, or they're going to end up getting traded. So yeah, let's see what happens in these coming weeks. Look for very soon off-season trade predictions, and I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Rule 5 draft and arbitration eligible players. And yeah, again, like, subscribe, share, please. Really soon we are going to do a promotion and give away 30 days on theathletic.com. If you don't subscribe to The Athletic, you totally should. It's wonderful. Big fan. Again, I make nothing from them. I'm not an affiliate, but I just think that it's a great source for sports information. So, hope you enjoyed this episode and hope you enjoy our content. Thanks again to my good buddy Eric for helping out with keeping content going on the Facebook page. Follow us, like, subscribe, share. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Look for that Buckeyes episode coming soon. We're going to do a Buckeyes preview. All right. Have a good one.